Good afternoon to you. Marcus out of HurricaneTrack.com, back in Wilmington, North Carolina temporarily. Going to be leaving in just a few hours because of that. Look at that patchwork. The Weather Service, I think the Weather Prediction Center referred to it as a Picasso painting or something like that. A lot going on with this winter weather as bitter cold, dangerously cold air draining down into the lower 48, first in the nation's midsection, and then it will try to spill east somewhat, and with that is going to come a lot of problems. Pretty much all of the lower 48 now under the gun from some kind of severe weather, winter weather, blizzard conditions, winter storm issues. We got lake effect issues coming up. That's where I'm going to be heading. Even out west, all kinds of winter issues going on. Wow, just a lot to talk about. And again, we are only a dozen days into 2024, and it has been very active so far. My goodness. And eventually, next week, when this all calms down, hopefully, we're going to start looking at some stuff related to hurricane season. But we've got enough on our plates right now. Let's deal with this first. All right, so let me show you what's happening. A bigger version of the thumbnail map. Look at that. The reds here, blizzard warnings in a lot of different areas here, even out in Idaho, a little sliver of one in southwest Colorado. Just to give you an idea of what some of these mean. This is your flash flooding and just general flooding concern. These pinks in here, winter storm warnings. This is all wind issues, the brown, and this is kind of like your fire weather, if you will. Red flag advisory, I believe. So a lot going on because of all of the cold air coming into the lower 48. We're going to have, especially in this grayish area through here, some wind chill problems. Very, very cold temperatures, and the wind is going to be blowing, and you're going to get wind chills in the sub-zero category, teens, 20, 30 below. Yikes. Even storm warnings up here. That's the purple along some of the lakes. A very rough time of it for sure. Travel, by all means, is going to be difficult in some of these areas. Finally, by the way, after being almost completely covered in these different colors, Arizona now completely free of any of those colors. No watches, warnings currently in effect in Arizona. How about that? All right, so satellite imagery, you can clearly see what is happening here. Storm system working its way across the eastern parts of the country, just crossing the Mississippi. Still energy diving in out west. The cold air is going to come down out of Canada with a vengeance. We still have the subtropical feed coming up this way. And it's just a matter of time, maybe, that the polar and the subtropical meet, and we get a big temperature contrast through here, and possibly a big East Coast storm. Right now, they've been generally cutting, what people literally call them cutters. They cut inland, something like that, or they're getting suppressed and heading out to the Atlantic, which is what we're seeing to some extent with the system that could be coming next week. I think this is our fourth one, and we have several more to go. Very busy indeed. So let's take a look. This is something else. This is the GFS 2-meter air temperature, so 6 feet above the ground. And this is the current situation here, valid pretty much right now, roughly 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So all of this is your area that is below freezing. So that's a pretty good chunk of the country. The southeast United States, including here in Wilmington, kind of toasty, relatively speaking. South Florida is the balmy area, or the Caribbean, which of course you would expect. But watch what happens as I put this into motion. I'm going to slide it. You can see the cold air spilling in. There's your diurnal effect, where it looks like it jumps and flashes back. That's the nighttime, daytime diurnal effect. But just check this out over time. This is 5 days out. If we back it up, let's look at some of these lows here. 90 hours out, so 6Z is the middle of the night for just about everybody. That's 1 a.m. Eastern Time. 12Z is just about when everybody's getting up. So let's just look at 12Z Tuesday, and this will give you an idea. These are forecast actual 6-foot temperatures, 2 meters, minus 20s and 30s through here, minus teens all through here, single digits down. There's a 1 right there in northeast Texas. 9 to 13 near Dallas-Fort Worth. Single digits in Oklahoma, even negative values. Kansas in the deep freeze, all the way up through parts of Illinois, Indiana, into Michigan around the lakes. And then even The northeast up here getting cold as well. But look, the southeast, that strong ridge sitting off in the Atlantic, just the way the pattern is, and that could be interesting as we get into hurricane season. They are somewhat related. Powerful high pressure over the Atlantic, keeping things from getting absolutely ridiculous along the southeast coast. But those temperature anomalies could eventually, and these are actual temperatures, I'll show the anomalies in a minute, that could spread down into Florida. We'll see. We don't want that. Definitely don't want that. This is 8 days out. That's as far as we really need to look. Try to keep those cold temps out of Florida to keep the citrus and everybody that moved to Florida from the cold from getting angry, right? These are the anomalies, though. These are the departures from the average. And anywhere you see these pinks in here, very, very strong anomalies, but it gets worse. And you can see the air spill across these anomalies, dipping all the way down south of the border, even touching into the Gulf of Mexico. Way colder than normal. Some cases, we're looking at double digits to, close to 30 degrees Celsius below the long-term average. 1981 through 2010 is the background climatology. So very deep, cold air. And it spills across the lower 48. You can visualize that here. There's just wave after wave of it that spills down out of Canada here, the Northwest Territories and elsewhere, and it cuts across the country via the upper-level jet, mid to upper-level jet. Now, if the southern stream can get involved and everything can phase up, you get a heck of a snowstorm and wind probably up the east coast. But we haven't seen that yet, and we are not really thinking that it's going to happen, because instead, due to this pretty strong high pressure sitting out over the western Atlantic, generally, these systems have been cutting. And you can see that clearly with this one right here. That is causing those blizzard conditions on the backside, the potential for severe weather ongoing on the southeast side of that low, which is currently 987 according to the GFS analysis. It deepens quickly, rapidly intensifies. 973, if that was a hurricane, everybody would be looking at close to a Category 2 easily. And those isobars wrapped all around this, you've seen me and others talk about this, I'm sure. Telltale sign in meteorology, that is a lot of wind. Very, very dangerous conditions. And then the Arctic front coming in, strong high pressure, looks like 1050 or so. That's very, very strong. That's a lot of air, dense air. And I've used this analogy before. Air is when you get cold air, it's very thick, very dense, and it spills out very slowly. It's very much like molasses on a table, or if you make a really thick slime with your kids. I've done that with my daughter before. And you put that on the table and it gradually spreads out. That's what this cold air does. Similar. It's not the same physics, but cold, dense air coming down into the lower 48. And you can see the shape of it even right through here. If you just know what you're looking for, you can see the shape. It's just incredible how that air comes in and causes, a lot of changes. Definitely extreme conditions give you these extreme results here. As we see 972 up over the lakes, the winds howling around. They finally switch up to a favorable trajectory for lake snows all across all 5 of the major lakes, right? But I'm going to be most interested in Buffalo, Watertown, I-81, somewhere around there. Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, up towards Watertown, and I'm going. That's my next stop on the HurricaneTrack Mark Sudduth Winter Tour, is the Great Lakes up there. And look at those plumes. My goodness, you can see many, many, many hundreds of miles that some of those lake plumes cover. Big time. And I think there's some kind of a football game heading towards Buffalo, right? The Mafia, the Bills Mafia, you've seen it, but you might not see the game. There's going to be so much lake effect snow, and if it gets into the Orchard Park area, look out. Anyway, that happens, and then another system comes through, tries to tease the mid-Atlantic. This is still 102 hours out, and the Northeast with a big one, but it's more of a nuisance there. As you can see, all these blues, some snow. This will guarantee, if it happens, that New York, Philly, etc., will break their snowless streak. I think it's still snowless. I've been gone for like a week, That didn't get broken yet, right? Well, this would do it. But it's 5 days out. And if this storm is more suppressed, where it gets on out of there because of strong high pressure way up to its north, that doesn't allow everything to come up the coast. You need like a big ridge out west and then some troughing here to have everything do the right moves, generally speaking. That might not happen. We'll have to wait and see. But that's what it looks like out at the next 5 days. And then just to show you the next 2 weeks, storm after storm cuts across from the south. Some of them come in from the Pac Northwest. Then it looks like we do modify things. Finally, as we get towards the end of the month, you figure this cold will eventually have to abate. Severe side of things today, luckily, wow, we caught a break. You know, it was enhanced the other day. Lots of people were talking about through here and whatnot. It has been chiseled away, now down to slight only. I say only, we got to pay attention still, but this is a lot better than what we saw. People were talking about long track supercells, and rightfully so. The guidance said that, suggested it a few days ago. Now it doesn't. All right? That's just how weather works sometimes. And it is kind of a bummer, though. I'll tell you a quick story. Here in Wilmington, New Hanover County Schools, all afternoon activities and all the basketball games for today rolled up, and not a darn thing is going to happen. That's a bummer. That's where you got to kind of watch and wait and be patient. It wasn't, I'm not going to get into it. I don't know who they're talking to, but it's like, come on, you know, we were only under a slight as it was, and school was canceled the other day. Hey, look, the weather can cause a lot of headaches, even when it's a miss, so to speak. You worry about it when it hits. Sometimes when it misses, it aggravates people. Luckily, tomorrow and then the next several days, forget it. No convective activity. Maybe some lake effect convection, just a little bit. Maybe some thunder snow. I hadn't seen much mention of it at all from National Weather Service Buffalo. But, yeah, nothing to worry about over the coming days. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nothing, because it is going to be too dadgum cold for it, for sure. So my plan, going to leave Wilmington later today, eventually get up sometime by tomorrow to the Syracuse area. Let's try to draw it for you. But yeah, I'm going to make my way up here, come up to Syracuse, and then Sunday, early Sunday morning, I'll make my way over to Buffalo. So from Syracuse to Buffalo, that should be a real hoot. And I'll hang out in Buffalo Sunday night. The way those bands orient and whatnot, we'll have to see. Wow, the lake effect machine could be absolutely cranking. And I've been up there 2 or 3 times before, so I know what I'm getting into. I also want to pay attention to the Tug Hill Plateau region up through here, because that too could get a fair amount of lake effect snow off of Ontario. And Erie is interesting. None of these lakes have much ice at all. And so there's plenty of moisture, open lakes for the wind to come across, scoop that moisture up, and dump it in areas downwind of the lakes over here. Same thing for the areas in and around Buffalo, maybe towards Rochester. But that game, what is it, the Bills and the Steelers? I have a good friend, Scott, that is a huge Bills fan. He'll be watching that closely. And I'll be watching from the outside of the stadium. Not just outside, but you get the idea. And I will be live. I'll be doing that. If you want to take a break and switch from football and see what's happening in Mark's world, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hey, there's a good way to pitch that. Yeah, I'll be streaming live starting tomorrow morning. After I leave, it's somewhere in Maryland that I'm staying tonight. Get up in the morning, I'll fire up that live cam. It'll be on our Discord, our Patreon, our HurricaneTrack Insider. That's all for our crowdfunding folks that help to make this possible, our investors, as it were. But of course, we will also put it on YouTube, and anybody can watch and tune in and comment, and I'll be watching and seeing what you guys are talking about as well. All right? But look, that says all you need to know. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, there it is. It is busy, busy, busy with big-time winter. You guys stay safe out there, especially in the Midwest. Lots of stuff coming. I don't think I'll have a video tomorrow, but I'll just talk to you through the stream. That's easy to do, all right? Don't forget to him on HurricaneTrack on Twitter. I still call it Twitter, okay? Bear with me. It'll always be Twitter to me. Anyway, you guys have a great rest of your Friday, a great weekend ahead. Seriously, stay safe out there. It's rough, all right? Mark Sudduth from all of us here at Hurricane Track. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow as I travel up to Syracuse.